Hi everyone, it's Victoria Kennedy, medium clairvoyant from Los Angeles, California, and tonight is another episode of VK's Rant and Rave. So I have to tell you, on Friday, which was the Friday before Mother's Day, my son and I, we went out. It was maybe about 8 o'clock, and we were heading to Long Beach. We actually had to pick up some cookies, and we're driving to Long Beach, and we kind of go through all the ghetto before we get to the good part of Long Beach, and we pick up our cookies, for Mother's Day, and we start heading back. So we are driving on the 91. We're driving on the 91 East, and there's helicopters and there are airplanes all over the place because we're not far from the airport. And there's helicopters all over the place simply because this is LA County. And there's always some type of BS going on in LA County, right? So anyhow, my son and I were driving, and my son does not believe, never, anything that I have to say in regards to UFOs, right? So all of a sudden, I want to say when I looked up at the sky, we were driving 91 East, so I'm going to say that was going to be northeast of my direction, and we just saw like these shimmery lights, and it like I said, it caught my attention, which is why I looked up, and I saw there must have been like maybe 8 of them, and they were like literally, they kind of look like sparklers, right? When you light the sparklers, but not like the sparklers that they have now. I want to say back in the days when we were kids and they had the metal sparklers, the ones that we would always get burned on. Those ones. That's exactly how these, whatever it was, look like. And I remember I even told my son, I was like, hey, look at that. And he looked and he goes, what am I looking at? Of course, total 16-year-old boy, right? And I said, don't you think that's odd? Look at the formations. There is no way that any type of regular aircraft, like a plane, a helicopter, would be able to be that close to one another. I mean, it was literally as if these two flashing lights, whatever they were almost on top of one another. And I said, that can't happen. I said, there's wingspan, there's like all kinds of stuff, all of a sudden my nerdism kind of kicks in. And he goes, Mom, it's just something, I don't know what it is. And he kind of went on his merry way, just putting on his headphones, tuning me out, right? And I'm looking and all of a sudden these lights, they turn into, remember I said that I want to say there was like about 8 of them when I first noticed them. And they were all kind of bundled up, I want to say like in a circle when I first saw them. And they kind of started to just go in different directions. It went from a circle to like this long, like a line. And in between those lines, I'm sorry, not in between the lines, but when the lights were there and they're blinking, and I mean, there was obviously some space, right? All of a sudden, in between these spaces, you kind of start seeing other lights starting to flash in between, like in that dead space, I guess you could say, starting to blink more. And I was like, wait a minute, where are those ones coming from? And I even told my son again, it's like, look, you have to look. I am not crazy. You have to look at this. And he's like, I don't know what you want me to see, right? And I was like, don't you think that's odd? And I said, look, I could see another light starting to make form. Again, I'm crazy, right? So I'm still looking, and then all of a sudden they just kind of like, I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it except that they just disappeared, right? And I was like, that is really, really odd. And then I kind of started playing, devil's advocate. Oh, well, there's trees right here where I'm out on the freeway, and well, they're really not trees, they're really weeds, and they're obstructing my view. I can't see. I'm gonna wait until I start getting on the ramp to get onto the 605, Going north, I'll be able to see them again. Negative. They were not there. Then we get out the freeway and we're driving down the street that we take to get home. And I look up and I see one. And I see another. But I did not see as many as I saw the first time when I was driving. This time was only a couple. And then, I see a helicopter, and then I see a regular airplane. So you definitely can tell that this was different from what I was seeing. It looked nothing like a helicopter, it looked nothing like a regular airplane. And you can see the airplanes because they're getting ready to kind of begin their transitioning so that way they can land. And then again, they just disappeared. But what was so odd about this is that it's not anywhere on my dash cam. I was actually in my wife's car and we just got her a new dash cam. We had it installed. And that dash cam pretty much picks up anything. Anything. I even, the other day there was a full moon. It picked up the full moon, but it did not pick this up. I saw it. My son saw it. And I'm sure other people had to have saw it too. I could not have been the only one. My son and I guess I should say, should not have been the only ones who had, seen this. So, it kind of goes back to, when it's meant for you to see things, you will see things, right? So I started asking myself, because I did go back and I looked at the video from my dash cam. And then I started thinking, okay, well, is it true then? Because, we hear all these things. And I didn't want to do another segment or anything about UFOs. But this one's actually turning into that. But again, I was thinking, okay, well, is it true? Is it true what Dolores Cannon says? Now, I believe I said this on one of my previous episodes about Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon was this huge UFO person, right? She was all into the UFOs, crop circles, and things like that. And I was listening to one of her lives, because she's on live all the time on YouTube. Which, by the way, Dolores Cannon, she's no longer here. She actually passed away. But they have her videos that are constantly circulating on YouTube. And it's live, right? So I started asking, well, I wonder if it's true what she had said. Because she actually says that if it's meant for you to see them, it's meant for you to have an experience, you will. Okay? Well, I don't want to have any experience, right? I think it would be kind of cool to kind of see their spaceships, but I don't want to go inside their spaceships, and I don't want to have any experience whatsoever with them. So again, it just kind of vanished, which, like I said, which was really, really odd. So going back to Dolores Cannon, which, by the way, like I said, love her. She's a wealth of knowledge. She actually had said that we actually, in past lives, some of us could have been on other planets. She says that we could have been even a fish, a rock, some sort of anything different than our regular life, right? Than a human life. Like I said, you could have been a fish, you could have been a rock, you could have been a bird. You could have been, a regular person, a regular human. You also could have been, maybe you had an experience living in a different world, in a different time as an extraterrestrial. You never know, right? But I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I would feel about walking around with this big old head, with these weird looking eyes, and these super skinny legs, and these super skinny arms. with black eyes, okay? With all the shaped black eyes. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I'm not really sure how I would feel about living on other planets. Now, do I feel that there's life on other planets? You know, this is my theory. My theory is that Earth is a planet and we're here. So there has to be life on some other planets. Now, the scientists think that they have pretty much narrowed down all of the planets. Again, I feel that's nearly impossible because the universe just continues going and going and going and going and going. So there's no way that the planets that they have now described, Jupiter, Mars, and so forth, that's the only planets that are here within our solar system. That I don't believe. There has to be so much more that just extends. Because if there wasn't, where are all these little spaceships coming from? Where are all these little blinking lights coming from? And where are they going? Who knows? Maybe they're hanging out on the moon. Maybe they're hanging out on Mars. Maybe they're hanging out in Jupiter. Maybe they're who knows? Even though we have went to the moon numerous times, there's no way that we have scratched every square inch of that planet. There's no way that has even come to full circle, I guess we could say. There's so much. It's like putting one person here in the middle of the earth and saying it's your job to scour this entire planet. That's going to be nearly impossible. They can send a rover. They can send some type of mechanical device. It's going to be impossible because it's too big. So who knows? Maybe on the moon, maybe there's some other type of life form there that we haven't even seen or noticed. Maybe there's some type of like a regular everyday community like we have here. People going to and from work. People getting mad at their spouses. People going to the grocery store. People going to the laundromat. People going house hunting. We cannot be the only life form here. Because like I said, those lights are coming from somewhere, from some place. Are they coming from Area 51? Are they just messing with us? That also could be a possibility, but I just think that Area 51 is not that sophisticated as they want us to believe. I do believe that there's a lot of things that are going on there that we have no knowledge of, and maybe it's for our own good that we really don't know. But there has to be life on other planets. There has to be. So, you know how in paranormal investigations you see on the shows, they have these like voice boxes, I guess we'll call them, and they're static. It's like and it's so loud, and they'll get a word here and a word there. I'm pretty sure you've seen them before. And this has always been my theory. And okay, well, first of all, anytime we go into a house, I don't use any of that. I don't know. I just don't, it's just not my thing, I guess we'll say. But my theory is with those are, to me, I feel like they're interference, right? Just think about we have the power, the power lines, we have, all types of electronic devices in our homes on us. We have people who have CB radios. We have cell towers. So who's to say that as those words are coming in, that it's not coming from another place, meaning another planet where there's going to be another life form? Who's to say that other life form is not a medium? And they're not, and they're able to see and to hear what's going on in this particular area. Oh my God, the possibilities are endless. My mind goes and goes and goes and goes. And if there is other life form, why just make your presence known with little flashing lights, or with, just fast maneuvering objects in the sky? Why don't you get a YouTube channel? Why don't you start posting on TikTok? Like I said, I really feel that with all of these experiences that people have had, and there's internet sites where people have had experiences, there's shows, Project Blue Book, oh my God, such a great show that has come out. We have old video of radar, where sometimes the Air Force is reporting an unidentified aircraft. So you cannot tell me that they do not exist, because somehow, somewhere, someplace, they do exist. When will we see them? I have no idea. Do we want to see them? That's something that you might want to think about. But again, I'm pretty sure that we're not the only life form on any one of these planets. And you never know. They could be landing their little spaceships right here somewhere on Earth, which is the planet that we live on. You never, ever know. We have large areas of desert that no one has ever stepped foot on. All this, government land. So, you never know. My thing is that always be open to the possibilities. But hey, if an extraterrestrial is going to come to Earth, as long as they can lower our grocery prices, get us cheaper gas, I'm totally down. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Catch you next time.